All right, establishing roles in leadership. The big one for you is the energy bus, the bus driver. Go ahead, take it away on the bus driver.
So obviously John Gordon, I think every coach or anyone in a leadership position has probably read the energy bus and just about always having great energy and like positive energy is better than negative, etc. But one of the things that he talks about more than anything is you have to have the right people in the right spots on the bus. So where are people sitting at? And I kind of came up with my own thing because I think what most coaches would probably say is that the person that's driving the bus is going to be the coach. And I don't agree with that. I think the person driving the bus is your leader. It's your captain. It's your best player. Because as a coach, you're really the dispatcher. You're really the one giving the directions to the guy driving the bus. Like you can't be on the bus because you can't play.
Sure.
So in turn, like you got to make sure you have someone driving the bus that understands what you want, but in live action has the ability to like hold people accountable and put what you want into place. Another great Steve Hawkins one, I'm going to bring him up a lot during these, is he was always big on, you don't really need leaders at practice. Like there's 4 coaches there. Like you need a leader in the locker room and one of your players is saying something that they shouldn't be saying about the organization of the team. You need leaders at 3 o'clock in the morning when they're at a party. You need leaders during a game when you can't go out on the court and stop it. You like to huddle your guys up and hold people accountable. So like that's when leadership really takes over. So developing them and making sure they're the ones driving the bus. Because as we all know, sometimes you get the wrong guy in that position or you think you're placing a guy in that position and they're not it. The real leader's in the back, and that's really a bad place to have them.
So, like, how are you identifying guys as a coach? It's probably something that you got to, like, sit back and let it happen organically. I know I've been on teams where one guy seems like he might be the leader, but he's not, and it's pushed, and it's really uncomfortable for everybody involved. So, as a coach, how do you handle maybe building up a leader, but also, like, having enough wherewithal to step back and let the team sort it out?
So I think one of the most important things that you can really see is who guys listen to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us always want to make someone the leader, that it's the best player, this guy, and that really normally isn't it, you know, like, and then taking the time to like train them to be a leader and them learning to do leadership type qualities on the court really can take away from their best attribute and being your best player. So I know like we would always have the program come in pretty much every place that I was at. There's a group of Navy SEALs that come in to work with your team and they could identify who leaders were just by who people would follow. And I think, obviously, that's the definition of a leader, right, is who people are going to follow. So having the ability to identify that, and it might not be the person you want, but that doesn't really necessarily matter. That's who the group follows. So then investing in them and making sure that you and them are on the same page. A great way to do that is through, like, just surveys in general. So we'd always do a big team survey, and you literally just ask the question, like, who are the leaders on the team? Like, who do you follow? If you were in trouble, who would you reach out to? Like, and inevitably, they're going to tell you those answers, and then that's who your leader is.
The question or the questionnaire, like the survey is, I mean, that information's invaluable. A lot of times too, because what the coaches think is a lot different from what the players think. And I think we did ours, we didn't do them anonymously, but you never shared with the players what the players said. It was just between the coaches. And now it gives you something to move forward on. It's a lot like finding a team identity in terms of like what you do on the court. This is your identity of who's who. And it's a cheat sheet as to like who trusts who doesn't. And as a coach, you can kind of start to maybe fix some relationships that need to be fixed. You can put your guys in positions to have some adversity where they can have a shared experience and kind of build on that.
Well, let's just go back to what we just talked about. Like, you don't necessarily need leadership during a practice.
No.
Because you're there. Well, where are leaders that naturally establish in all those other places where you can't be as a coach? Well, that survey allows you to find out who those people are. Because that's the people they look up to off the court when you're not around.
The other part of this is having a role. The survey is another good thing for that. We'll have the survey in the description below. We'll just have a downloadable PDF. That shows not only what people think about the team, but what they think about themselves. I know when we filled it out, it was something outrageous, like we were going to be averaging as a team, if you added up everybody's totals, it was like, 600 minutes and 190 points and, just...
We broke every record in the end.
Yeah, it was outlandish. Yeah, outlandish. So as a coach, now you have these tools to show where your guy's mentality at, and now you can hold them accountable. So if a guy says, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to average 10 rebounds a game, and they're in practice and they're not boxing out, you'd be like, hey, I saw the survey. Like, it's not what I think about you. What do you think about yourself? Like, you said it yourself. Like, go out there and get 10 rebounds.
And it's also what your teammates think about you. So I think one of the best things to do in those surveys is you do strengths and weaknesses of each one of your teammates. And then you do actually give that to those players so they can see, okay, this is who you think you are.
Yeah.
You think these are your strengths and weaknesses. This is who your teammates think you are. Okay, now I'm the head coach and I'm having to put this group together. So in turn, even though you might think you're a great scorer, I already have 2 really good scorers, so I need you to sacrifice a little bit of that and give me more of rebounding or talking on defense or something like that. So it gives you the ability to kind of plug and play and put people in the places they need to be in, the right places on the bus. And then not only that, it also gives teammates the ability to hold people accountable to what their strengths and weaknesses are. So for instance, if I'm on the wing and I'm driving it and I got a guy who's wide open, right? But he's a good shooter, but the other guy next to him is a great shooter. Where am I going to throw the ball? Well, now I know.
Yeah.
We want to throw it to the great shooter. Or if I'm a good shooter and I get it and the great shooter's open, I'm going to make one more. I might be a guy that can't drive. I'm supposed to shoot. So when I get it, I should shoot it. I shouldn't deck it. But all those things get established. And again, it's not necessarily always the coach that's doing that. Have their teammates do it because that's really a lot more valuable.
Okay, so 2 things before we wrap this one up. Dealing with somebody who thinks that they should have an increased role that's above kind of their pay grade, like below their skill set. How do you work somebody into a role that they want to have that they're not quite ready for?
If they're not quite ready for it, I wouldn't probably put them in that role. I'd have someone else that's really good at it. And then as like practices go on, you slowly get them in and you give them confidence doing it. And then you over-exaggerate good things and you take them aside and you teach them like lessons when they do something bad, right? I think it's just like it's a terrible way to put it, but it's like training a dog. You know what I'm saying? Like if a dog does something good, you want to celebrate it. You want to give him a treat. Like you don't want to go over there and like hit him with a newspaper. That would be bad,
right.
You know? And then if you're trying to get them out of a habit and give them more confidence when they do something bad, again, you don't necessarily have to go crazy. Like you can just, bad dog. You don't want to do that, you know? But you don't got to go wild and do it in front of everyone. And then obviously they're going to gain confidence and they're going to grow into that role. Confidence is everything.
Yes. But I will also say it's super important that players know not only what their role is, but what the coach expects of them.
Yeah. And what does all that come down to?
Communication.
And trust.
Sure.
Like, so if you don't build a relationship with someone, it's the definition of leadership. Like, you can't get someone to do something they don't want to do if they don't trust you.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of this always comes down to if you don't build a relationship with them off the court, it's not going to matter. Like, you can celebrate as much victory as you want. Like, if they don't trust you and they don't believe in you, it's just not going to work. And I think we can see that more than ever right now in Division I basketball. You have all these transfers going on because at the end of the day, people just don't trust one another. And they're willing to trust someone else. And probably because they either had a role they didn't like or they were told they were going to be able to do something that they couldn't do.
Anything else?
Nope.
Great. Perfect. Like I said, we're going to have a link in the description for the team questionnaire. I highly suggest you guys fill this one out. We're going to have a couple more videos coming out, and we're going to reference back to it. If you're going to download one thing and fill it out for your program, I think it's the team questionnaire.
For sure.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.